Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
Brad Garlinghouse was on Fox Business yesterday, and you need to watch the whole thing. Let's get it going. Go give Coining 203 a follow, because he's been posting all these a lot of times when they have a Fox Business or when there's cool interviews, he's been putting them on his Twitter. Worth the follow. Oh, hold on a sec. Let me do a refresh and we'll get this party started. Come on.
Listen, it's the same with the U.S. dollar. Appropriate activity, inappropriate activity.
Now,
joining.
I want to make sure you take note. Don't think for a second, because what he's talking about, part of what he's talking about is the Russia invading Ukraine, and part of the conversation is SWIFT and all this stuff, okay? Make no mistake, this was intentional. Brad Garlinghouse is positioned here, and you've got the American flag waving in the background. There are no coincidences, folks. That is by design. Because remember, that's what this whole thing's about, folks. Ripple is the USA. The SEC is going after the American company and leaving these guys that created Ethereum alone, which was formed in Switzerland, in their own words, to get around US laws. So Brad Garlinghouse is sitting in what's called the catbird seat now, because he's got the truth on his side.
Now on the set, CEO of leading enterprise blockchain company Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. Yes, of course, Ripple, related to XRP. Brad would know a thing or two about this, along with Charlie Gasparino.
I know nothing. He knows everything.
I know nothing. What do you make of what Powell said? He kind of gave it to both sides.
What did he say, though? Did he say anything?
It's not entirely clear. But I do want to start by just saying that I and the team at Ripple feel so strongly about standing with the people of Ukraine, and I just want to put that out there.
Sure.
But my comment as I listen to some of the things I hear out of Washington is just I fear that there's a lack of knowledge. There's a lack of information about how crypto really works. And I think it does a disservice to responsible actors like Ripple, who are working with governments, with sanctions. Everything that is enforced from a sanction point of view through fiat currency, anything that Ripple does is enforced in the exact same way. And so there's no different level playing field. And I think in some ways, I heard Senator Warren saying things yesterday that felt like it's holding crypto to a different standard and expecting, for example, a blanket ban of all crypto in some of these countries in a way that, you can still use PayPal, you can still use these, some of these other things, and I don't think we should treat them differently.
Ripple is like SWIFT, isn't it?
Yes, Ripple's starting point, kind of our first use case for the technology, the blockchain technology, and the digital asset XRP was to solve that cross-border payments problem.
Right.
SWIFT is quite antiquated, kind of designed 50 years ago. It's slow, it's expensive, but it is a choke point that the governments use to enforce sanctions. My point is, nothing that Ripple is doing circumvents any of that.
So you're following the sanctions exactly? Like, for example, it's like, 8 banks, but a couple can still trade through it theoretically?
Correct. The sanctions are applied through what I'll call the choke points, the on-ramps and off-ramps. That's true for SWIFT, that's true for Ripple. Regardless of what I'll call just the plumbing of how things are moving, the choke points are the endpoints. So I think, when I step back and look at this, I think there is a lack of knowledge. I think people need to understand that crypto isn't this kind of black box. It's kind of back from when it was known as Silk Road. The industry has come a long way.
So an oligarch, or let's just say Vladimir Putin, couldn't finance tanks through Bitcoin.
Look, one of the things that people don't realize is there's just not enough liquidity.
Yeah.
Russia used to trade pre-sanctions $50 billion of cross-border kind of transactions per day. Crypto does not have anywhere near that. So, look, in the same way that somebody could be taking wheelbarrows of rubles or the Ukrainian currency across to Poland and things, there are ways you could do that, but it's really not significantly dissimilar.
Why are they so obsessed with it then? It's so weird.
I think it's kind of clickbait. It's a hot item. I think people, it adds a relevance and excitement around some of these things, but I think people don't understand.
Well, we had spoken to Gary Gensler of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I know you saw that interview because we were emailing afterward about it, but he specifically tried to say that he wants to very much focus on what's a security and what is an actual token, a cryptocurrency. I feel like if that's the case and he's holding you to that standard, at some point he's going to have to go after Ether as well, because Ether and Ethereum are those two very similar paths, just like XRP and Ripple, are they not?
Look, I think that's absolutely true. I don't want to comment on what they should or shouldn't do. I think as it relates to Ethereum, my view is it's very clear Ethereum's a currency. It's very clear XRP is a currency, and that the SEC. I mean, he was interviewed yesterday. Gary Gensler was, or maybe it was even this morning, and commented, "Hey, we're going to lose some cases." This is the definition of regulation by enforcement.
He was going to lose. You think he was saying he was going to lose your case?
I don't know what he was saying. I think but he did say, "Hey, we're going to lose some, and we're okay with that." That's the definition.
Where are you on the case? Let's get an update.
The quick update, on Monday was the last day of expert testimony, expert depositions, etc. And so the case continues to move forward. We're expecting some decisions from the court, sooner rather than later as it relates to a couple decisions before the court. But look, it's moved slowly. I think Gary Gensler has continued to kind of go with a narrative that crypto is the Wild West. It's not the Wild West. Are there bad actors? Yes, there's bad actors in all parts.
Well, bad actors in money laundering in U.S. dollars.
I found it fascinating from reading the documents for all the stuff they said about how bad it was that you did an unregistered securities. They never say anything bad about your platform. Why is that? I mean, because
of course, well, the irony there is, like, we were in the SEC's offices. I met with Chairman Clayton. I was meeting with commissioners. No one ever once said, "Hey, we think XRP is a security." And they look backwards and say, "Now we think it's all a security." That's a hard argument.
Please.
Now that is the real news out of this interview, folks. Is that he told you, if you remember, on Twitter and on social media, we've seen John Deaton and all these different people that know about the legal aspects of this. That was one of the things that was a big hot button, is what if some documents come out that show that they never told Brad Garlinghouse in all those meetings with the SEC that XRP was a security. Well, he just told you. Now we know for a fact that they never told these guys. So this whole fair notice thing, if you're the SEC, how can you say, "Oh, you guys should have known that this was a security"? Well, we met with the SEC and they didn't even tell us XRP was a security. So how could we have been supposed to know this? It doesn't make any sense, as none of this case makes any sense. Okay. This is interesting. John Deaton says, "I want to extend my sincere gratitude to Congressman Warren Davidson for taking the time to discuss our request for an investigation into the huge conflicts of interest and gross appearances of impropriety related to the decision to give Ethereum a free pass and attack XRP holders. Congressman Davidson expressed real concern for XRP holders, including the more than 600 in Ohio that have joined his amicus in the case. Congressman Davidson understands this space and the issues better than most. We need more like him in Congress." I agree with that. However, how can Congressman Warren Davidson not start blowing the horn that we need an investigation? Because what else do you need? Okay, this is great. XRP meme guy. He's a definite follow. He puts out some funny memes, by the way. The real reason the SEC sued Ripple, 2018, Gary Gensler telling his students at MIT how the incumbents try to slow down startups. Watch this. And this is the problem. This is who Gary Gensler is. He is I'll call him from A Christmas Story, the movie. He is a toady of these Wall Street guys.
Central monopolist with another central monopolist. A lot of commercial banks aren't terribly excited about that. Maybe you're going to have to give some ownership. Maybe you'll have to give 50% of your ownership to the 20 banks that are now, part of this. I mean, there are other ways to build incentive systems. Maybe you put a native token in there, and you give them the native token. So there may be other incentive ways to beat the current monopolist. But I, having been around commercial banks for a long time, they really are looking for ways to replace their aggregators in their back office, whether it's clearing, settlement, exchanges, credit agencies. But they are deeply understanding, because they are pretty ambitious and very good at making money as well. They deeply understand that every idea that's pitched to them is somebody who currently is small but wants to get big and gain market power. So they're also always thinking about how to ensure that there's a check to slow down your startup from gaining market power 5, 10, and 15 years from now. They don't want you to be the next clearinghouse like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or Intercontinental Exchange. They don't want you to be the next central node of market power. So you might share some of that with them, or you might find an
share some of that with them.
system.
Makes you wonder if J.P. Morgan and the boys, when they went to meet with Brad Garlinghouse, I think it was back in maybe 2017, were they asking him for some of his market share? Golly. Okay, Rosalind Layton must-see event, Anna Manuel and this guy, and who's this? National Security Institute, winning tomorrow's tech competition with China. They're having and Anna Manuel is on Ripple's board of directors. I find it interesting that the National Security Institute is going to be talking about this. Now, the proverbial shit is hitting the fan, no pun intended, folks. How Ethereum's consensus could have secretly sold part of the business to JP Morgan. This is the article right here. That's one way that it's been said. Here's another way it's been said. Consensus founder accused of $39 million fraud involving JP Morgan. Folks, this right here is getting ugly. Now, we'll see. What this is a lot of the consensus shareholders that are basically, the way I read it, they're basically saying that there was some kind of nefarious activity that was really just a way to get a lot of the ownership of, I believe, MetaMask into the hands of JP Morgan. Okay, now we'll just move along. But I did want to, I retweeted that article to the mainstream media, and I did say to them, any of you mainstream media that have ignored the truth we've been putting right in front of your face for a year, are any of you ready to save any of the credibility you have left? And I also said this, only Charles Gasparino, Eleanor Terrett, and Rosalind Layton had the guts to cover the truth. I have to assume that everyone else in mainstream media are told what they should cover. Journalism is dead in America. Shame on you sellouts. How do you look at your children? And then I pulled this article from August of 2020 just because I want to remind everybody. This was why Consensus bought JP Morgan's Quorum. Financial terms of the deal were not disclosed, but JP Morgan will take a seat on the Consensus board of directors. I think it's important that you all remember that. And it's also important that you all remember this. I took remember the interview with, a picture paints 1,000 words, folks. I took remember when when Gary Gensler was on stage with Tim Draper? Well, when you take I screenshot the article about Consensus founder accused of $39 million fraud involving JP Morgan, I just let this be what you look at while you listen to Gary.
You mentioned Jamie Dimon, so let's bring it back to Jamie and JP Morgan. What do you think is going to be the thing that they will have to change the most or lose market share and somebody else is going to do better, faster, serve their clients better than JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs?
You can just hear the bankers panicking right now.
But
feel the panic in their voices.
But here's business that is most.
Well, here's what always happens. The first thing that happens is they try to go, oh, it's nothing, and they did that. I mean, that's with every new industry, every new technology comes along. The powers that be, the incumbents, the status quo, all say it's nothing. Don't ignore the man behind the curtain. This is nothing. And then all of a sudden it's too big to get in there. They're going, oh my God, I got to face this thing. And then they all line up and they wrap their arms together and they say, we're not letting this happen. And then it keeps going. And then they say, okay, well, let's go after, let's sue them. or let's go get the government.
There's another thing too. They adopt the technology.
No, that's at the end.
They will adopt this technology.
No, this is the last thing they do. No, it's after. It's after the press planning. They plant the press stories. They put out lawsuits. They create as much of a fuss as possible. They try to get their government friends involved. And then they go, oh God, this thing's happening.
Seeing the problem yet? They did not see John Deaton coming. They didn't see the XRP community coming. And they sure as hell didn't see Jason Foster from Empower coming. We have the video. We have the timeline. We have the truth. The truth will set you free. And then there's this. This was a tweet. Consensus lawsuit reveals JP Morgan owns critical Ethereum infrastructure. Decentralization was always a lie, folks. This Web3 BS. It was venture capital firms. It was JP. We know JP Morgan was there early before Ethereum launched. We know Goldman Sachs was there before Ethereum launched. That's not my words. That is Charles Hoskinson's words and Joseph Lubin's words. So, and also Andreessen, we've played a video of Andreessen Horowitz people that said that they were there at Bitcoin Miami when Vitalik Buterin announced that they were going to do the Ethereum pre-sale. We've got that video too. Now today I tweeted this earlier. I just realized I haven't heard a word about Ethereum 2.0, consensus layer, or whatever they call it in weeks. Okay. Then there's this, because look, a lot of the videos that we have shown over the last year, every once in a while one of them will pop back up and someone will say, whoa, look at the amount of times this has been viewed. Now that's what you call a hot button. That means people are paying attention. And so because many of you are new to this, and we've got new people coming in every day, when one of those is brought to my attention, I make sure and show it again. It's called Play It Again, Sam. I think that's what the saying is. This is John Deaton when he was on the Patrick Bet David podcast. Listen to this exchange between these guys, because these guys are as stunned as you will be if you've never heard it.
And the other thing,
and for those of you that don't know, John Deaton right here, he's the attorney that is suing the SEC on behalf of over 65,000 XRP holders.
And the other thing that the SEC won't give us is, did you know that 63 emails went out with that draft speech that gave Ether a free pass? Do you know who was the only commissioner to get a draft version of it?
Who's that?
Jay Clayton. Did you know Crypto Mom herself, Hester Peirce, never saw it? How do you draft?
Why would Clayton even be involved in that draft? Why would he even?
He gave input. He's the only commissioner. Bill Hinman was deposed. Ripple was successful in getting him deposed. Of course, they redact everything to the public. And I have it here if you want to see it. The lawyers asked him, did you ever represent...
How much is redacted?
Ethereum, 90%.
Can I see? This goes to Pat. You were telling a story a couple weeks back about you were at Harvard and you said that there was a guy who was having trouble.
So just find a congressman, pay him $500,000.
That was it.
He's going through an election and he'll help you put up a law to hurt them.
This is it?
Yeah.
In action. He's asked questions like, have you ever worked for Ethereum Foundation? Look at the answers.
Look at the redactions.
All right, and this isn't the whole. This isn't the whole lawsuit.
Dude, are you kidding me? Right? This is insane.
Now, why would they redact, Pat, if he's asked a question, have you ever had clients that are part of the Ethereum Foundation? If I represent you and your business, I can't talk about what we talk about.
So is it public record?
No, it was an exhibit that's public record.
Can we show this? Or
oh, yes, you can show it.
So, like...
Absolutely.
So I don't know if people can see this, but
this pages of that.
This is an entire page of every single word on the page redacted, and there's pages of it.
This is your transparent Securities Exchange Commission.
Holy moly.
Let me tell you what it really is. What it is an SEC that's saying F you to the people and the investors that it claims to care so much about protecting. That, when you see that, that is Gary Gensler sticking up his middle finger. My 9-year-old jokes around and he'll put up the finger beside his middle finger, and then he'll say, "Dad, it wasn't the real finger, the one that real." This is Gary Gensler putting up the real finger, the middle finger, and saying, "F you, we run things, not you, the people that we are supposed to represent." That's what that is. Make no mistake, that's what that is. That's the reason that Gary's got such a problem on his hands, is because this country for far too long has been run like that, where these people don't give a rat's behind what the people that they're supposed to represent think. And it's time that change. And that's why this case represents a lot more than just SEC versus Ripple. I think people in this country have had enough. We've had enough of the Gary Genslers of the world. We've had enough of Wall Street running Main Street. We've had enough. All we want is some honorable people who actually give a rip about this country and about our children's future, and don't just think to themselves, "Oh, we've got this little tiny group of people between New York and Washington, D.C., and we're the ones that matter, and everybody else is a bunch of peasants that are gum on the bottom of our shoe." And these people better be careful, because people are rising up right now. And some people call it Great Awakening. I don't know what you call it, but people are rising up right now. And these people are going to be in big, big trouble when the American people finally realize, and not just America, but the world, when people finally realize what these people have been doing to all of us all these years. It's beyond being shameful. It's almost anti-American, it's anti-humanity what they're doing. It's evil. So if I were them, I'd start paying attention and start doing the right thing. At least act like they care about doing the right thing. Brad Garlinghouse says, "Ripple and I unequivocally condemn Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. It's my view that Russia's attack on Ukraine is unprovoked, unjustified, and unacceptable, maintaining some semblance of global order." Now this is interesting. This guy right here is thanking Elon Musk for giving them the Starlink satellites. Let me see who this guy is. He is the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine. Elon Musk, SpaceX, Starlink. Many thanks. Starlink keeps our cities connected and emergency services saving lives. With Russian attacks on our infrastructure, we need generators to keep Starlink's and life-saving services online. Any ideas? Elon Musk replies to him and says, "Updating software to reduce peak power consumption, so Starlink can be powered from car cigarette lighter. Mobile roaming enabled, so phased array antenna can maintain signal while on moving vehicle." The world's a-changing, folks. And my bet has always been that there are going to be nodes on those satellites if they're not already. I'm betting that they are already. I'm the digital asset, XRP and XLM nodes, that is.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.